Hello class, welcome back to All In for the Love of Science. We're covering balanced and unbalanced forces today. Let's see how this works. So here we go. I set up my little board of science and we have unbalanced forces and we have balanced forces. So let's look at the unbalanced forces first. Going through the unbalanced force, you have two ladies and they're having to pull this 150 Newton bucket. Maybe they're taking water to the horses outside, or they're taking a big load of laundry to the laundromat. Whatever is happening, this is 150 Newtons. And this one is pulling with 100 Newtons force towards the right. And she is also pulling with 100 Newton force towards the right. If they are going in the same direction, I put a big S for same. They're going in the same direction, you add. So 100 plus 100 equals 200. The resultant force will be 200 newtons to the right. Well, there's another way that they could also be working together. Let's say that one is pulling and the other is pushing. So she's pulling at 100 newtons to the right, and she is pushing with 100 newtons to the right. So they're still moving in the same direction. We'll put an S for same. That means that we add these two forces together. So 100 plus 100 equals 200 newtons. And it equals 200 newtons to the right. That is the resultant force, 200 newtons to the right, because it's working together. So we add the forces. Oh, trying to get me. So we add the forces because they are working together. So I'm going to cover that up, and let's see if we can come to this side and not kill myself with the board. So we have balanced forces. Now the balanced forces may not always be a good thing in this case, because you have the 150 Newton, say, thing of water or clothes that need to be washed, and mom is screaming, bring the clothes, bring the clothes. And so they both jump up and grab it. And this, you've probably had this happen before, where you want to go one direction and the other person that you're carrying something with wants to go the other direction. So she's pulling 100 newtons to the left and she's pulling 100 newtons to the right. So they are going in opposite directions. When they're going in opposite directions, I put a big O because that means to subtract. 100 minus 100 equals 0. And this is a sad 0 because they are not moving. So if mom is screaming, it's not happening. So they're both pulling in opposite directions. Now, there is another 0 that's constant speed, but we're not on that one right now. So in this case, balanced force, going to the left, going to the right. There's no motion happening right now. So mom is still screaming, clothes need to be washed, horses need to be watered, horses need to be fed, whatever's in that 150 Newton bucket, and it's not happening. Now, what happens? What happens if I change the weight? What happens if I change the weight? So I have 150 Newtons, this bucket, and with the two of them holding it, that may be able to do something, but let's look at these two. If I have these two ladies who seem to be working together well, the mom is not screaming because they're on their way moving, and this is a 150 Newton bucket, and they're pulling 100 Newtons each, and we add that together to 200. What if I change this bucket to 250 Newtons? And they are both pulling, and they're only pulling with 100 Newtons each. They only have 200 Newtons total. If they only have 200 Newtons total, and this bucket is 250 Newtons, the friction, the weight, everything of this is not going to allow those ladies to pull it. So they can pull and pull and pull, but unless they give some more force to it, it's not going to happen. So it's not going to be, they're not going to be strong enough to pull. Their force is not going to be able to overcome the weight of that bucket, the inertia of that bucket. And we'll talk about inertia when we get to Newton's laws of motion. I hope that you understand. If it's going in the same direction, you add. If it's going in opposite directions, you subtract. If it's 0, it's balanced. If it's any number other than 0, 1.2, 5,000, any number other than 0, it is unbalanced.